Welcome back to the Artie Lange Show. Final hour. Ala Abdelnabi sticking around. And on the phone now, a regular guest on the show. He talks football. He talks literature. He talks everything. The great Mark Kriegel. What's up, Mark?
You know what? You did well.
With what? What are you talking about?
I'm talking about your book. You did well.
Oh, thank you. Yeah.
One of the few mediums I would actually include myself as a discerning audience. I'm putting you right up there, and I mean this with the highest praise, no BS.
Mm-hmm.
With Joe, you could have made us proud. Now, I hope that doesn't date me, but the most eviscerating and honest memoir I recall is by Joe Pepitone. I don't think he intended it to be that way. I'm not sure Joe Pepitone was in on the joke.
Never read it. I would love to read that.
Artie, I swear to God, you would love this book. I'm gonna send you this book. Joe, you could have made us proud. The Joe Pepitone bio. It's like it makes Raging Bull look like Mary Poppins.
Really?
Jeez.
I swear to God.
Who wrote it? Who wrote it with him?
A guy named Barry Steinbach, who I don't,
Sexy name.
I don't know, but I know that at one point a friend. I can't say the story, but it is an extraordinary book. But I'm not. It's not because I'm an easy lay for you. God forbid. God help me. I'll burn a hell for saying that. But it's a good book, Artie. It's a really good book you wrote.
Well, thank you very much.
Boza deserves a lot of credit, and I see one problem with it.
What?
You made you made being a degenerate drug addict sound funny.
Well, I mean, there's funny parts in it, but there's some parts that are just astonishingly. I mean, I read it back and I can't believe I lived through that. But I wanted to make it crazy. But it's a cautionary tale.
It's a cautionary tale, but I don't know if this is a problem or an asset or an ode to you or the writer. And I'm not like jerking you around here, but the funniest, the most humiliating scenes, the most cautionary, are the funniest.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know. Again, I'm gonna date myself worse than Joe Pepitone, but the grotto at the Playboy Mansion was like before there was porn. It was the high temple.
You're right. You're right.
You got this scene with all of the bunnies and would-be bunnies at the Playboy Mansion in the grotto, where you're going in like expecting whatever you're expecting, like a child of my generation would. And it ends in absolute oblivion. And it's horrible. It should be a cautionary tale, but I laughed my ass off.
Yeah, no, I had the direct opposite experience that James Caan did at the Playboy Mansion.
I saw him the other night.
Jimmy Caan is a guy I know. I was in the movie Elf with him. I hung out with him a couple of times. He's hilarious.
Yeah. So,
Where'd you see him?
I saw him. I did a reading with Mancini at Pete Berg has this gym in Santa Monica, so he showed up out of charity to the author and the teller of the story, me and Ray. I think he knew Ray like from the 70s, the 80s, when Ray was hot.
Sure, yeah.
He's never been hot.
He loved boxing. I told this on the air once. I'll tell you because I'm sure I didn't tell you. The last time I saw James Caan was last year in a hotel lobby in New York. Him and his brother came up to me, and he said we had the nicest conversation. It's like talking to him is hilarious. It's like talking to Sonny Corleone. And we talked for like about a half an hour, and at the end he said, I got to take off. You're a comedian, right? I go, yeah. He goes, I'm going to tell you a joke. I go, okay. Now picture James Caan telling this joke and then just walking away in a crowded lobby in New York. And he very loud. He goes, okay, here's a joke. What's the worst thing a broad could hear after she gives oral sex to Willie Nelson? I'm like, what? He goes, I'm not Willie Nelson. I'll see you later. Picture James Caan. And he goes, I'm not Willie Nelson. I'll see you later, Artie. And he just walked away. All right, well, listen, listen, Mark, coming from you, that's amazing. You know, I'm a big fan, and
Wait, I got a whole speech. I actually read it.
Yeah.
I know, I appreciate it.
I got a couple questions.
Oh, go ahead.
So, like, when is Adrian up for sanctification or whatever you want to call it?
Well, listen, let me tell you. Every woman in my life, my mother, sister, Adrian, they have gone above and beyond the call of duty. I don't know, man. I'm considering not even making Adrian sign a prenup. But I have lawyers who are trying to talk me out of that as we speak. But no, she's wonderful. You know, stuck by me through thick and thin. And what can I tell you? You need a good woman, Mark. As you know, you need a good woman.
Yeah, well, that's yes. I had a girl come over. I had a beautiful woman come over and make the enchiladas the other night.
Really?
Yes.
What'd that cost you?
No, nothing.
Enchiladas.
You see, but can I tell you? Can I go back to the book for a second?
Go right ahead.
Is it that's the thing about a real memoir is that you have to have. I mean this in metaphorically and in real life. You have to have the balls to sort of disembowel yourself in public, and you did that in again metaphorically and in real life. The scene on the plane,
God, it was
the private
metaphorically.
plane with the hedge fund guys. And by the way, they deserve it. They ruined New York as far as I'm concerned. That class of people, but it's touching. One thing, and I'm sorry. I'm probably everyone's hanging up the phone or turning off. I'm going to give you one inappropriate old reference. You remember Chet Baker, the white trumpet player?
Yes, Chet Baker. I know who he is.
I thought like Chet Baker, Pistol Pete, they were the coolest white guys who ever lived.
Right.
So I get like a copy of Chet Baker's biography, and it's done by a real biographer. The guy's an accomplished writer, an accomplished biographer. And boy, I'm looking forward to this because one of my favorite songs that's like not written by brothers is My Funny Valentine, done by Chet Baker. I figure I read this book, I'll have the key to romance, I'll have the key to chicks, I'll really know. And it goes through Chet Baker's life, and he grows up wherever he grows up, like in Oklahoma, and then he learns to play, and then he cops.
Right.
And then he goes to L.A., and then he cops. And he goes to New York, and then he cops. And he goes to Amsterdam, and he cops some more junk.
Right.
And he goes to Scandinavia, and he cops. And then, like, now he's 60, and his teeth are falling out, and he cops. And the problem with the book is not the problem with the book or the writer. It's the problem with the life is that there's never the redemptive moment. You never get to the point where, oh, my God, I'm going to at least try to stop copping. I'm going to at least deal with my own stuff. And it just goes, okay, I'm about to die, and guess what? I'm going to cop.
Yeah. Well, that's what happens with heroin addicts. You have to keep copping because it becomes your life. It becomes part of you.
But it makes. I mean, it's stupid for me to say it makes the book. It makes your life. But there is something authentically redemptive, and you don't feel guilty about the scenes in the grotto or the private plane or the disemboweling of yourself. You feel like, oh, it's for a good cause. You stop copping, at least for a while.
Well, no, it helps to have a happy ending with that stuff because the heroin life is a very dark one unless you do eventually get off it. You know, and writing it, I was hoping it would have a happy ending. So I appreciate that. Yeah.
I appreciate reading. I really do. I really, really do. Because most of them don't end well. Most of them suck.
No, a lot of heroin stories end badly. I mean, you talk about the world of music, jazz. You got Charlie Parker. You got there's 2 million awful stories for every one.
But you have a line in the book where you go like, you know, I went like Charlie Parker. I went and go rode the subways, except without the genius.
Depression without genius. Yeah, that's.
Yeah, well, I know that thing. Well, but there's another. Wait. There's another line. I go and I turn on the Allman Brothers and listen to them in the dark.
Yeah, I used to love that. I used to love putting on like a Britney Spears video with the mute on and listening to Eat a Peach by the Allman.
Right. Eat a Peach, sorry. Album.
Yeah, so listen, I've read all your stuff, and I appreciate you taking a look at it. So speaking
so
of
much money.
Huh?
I hope you and Julie make so much goddamn money.
Yeah, well, Julie's not the publisher anymore. I switched publishers. It's a long. I got to talk to you about that off the air. It's a long story.
Sorry, is that a faux pas?
No, it's not. It's just how could you know? I'll tell you off the air that story.
All right.
But speaking of great writing, now you're doing a piece on the JFK assassination and why it was okay to play in the NFL the following. It happened on a Friday, so you're looking at 48 hours till the games. So what's your argument there?
My argument is that it was a piece I did on camera, and which you could tell I'm just great at on camera, and also for the NFL.com. And let me begin with I'm completely suspicious of all the nonsense that playing after 9/11 was therapeutic, because I watched those buildings come down.
Right.
And what I object to it was that there was this idea that you were rooting for the Mets or the Yankees. So, I mean, I remember that year, Mariano, God forbid, blew the save.
He did. Well, no, he threw you over. He threw a bad throw to second base first.
Right. Now, are you telling me that the underpinning that it all was meaningless now? Which
I
is
know.
nonsense.
Yeah.
It's so with the idea of football, it was the playing of the games. You didn't have to root for any team. So I think you're liberated from that absolute horse dung. I will say I went back through the attendance numbers, and he's killed on a Friday. And that day, Pete Rozelle, not my favorite commissioner, but Pete Rozelle talks to Pierre Salinger, the press secretary, and they're both of a mind that Kennedy would, in fact, want the games to have been played.
Okay.
And there's a guy in the piece, a friend of the Kennedys, and, they have this whole, football and touch football mythology, and that's really where the piece is at, where he says, and it wasn't like a Kennedy, this guy. It's a guy who went to their house in Hyannisport, played with Teddy at Harvard, but he's the son of a Boston cop. And he goes, I know one thing. I know that Jack would have wanted the games played. Yeah. Now, no one knew that Lee Harvey Oswald himself was going to get whacked on Sunday morning.
Right.
Okay?
So there was madness going on.
I'm sorry?
There was madness going on. No one knew what the hell was happening,
But if you look at the attendance figures, Artie, attendance for the regular season in '63 was 42,000 a game. Attendance for November 24th of '63, the 2 days after, was almost 49,000. So you're up like 7. So somebody wanted to come to these damn games.
People want to go after a tragedy. I think people want to go and be communal. They do. They want to see other Americans or whatever and sort of talk and try to get a sense of normalcy. It was pretty quick. I mean, I want to go around the room. Do you think they should have played the NFL after JFK got killed? Allah, what do you think? Should the NFL have played?
No, only because forget what the president wanted. I don't know if the country could handle it, but 49,000, 7,000 more. It seems like the country got over it pretty quick.
No, I know. Well, John, what do you think? You were in the NFL.
Yeah, 9/11, we took a week off.
I think that's appropriate because that's, 3,000 people are
doable.
Dead. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's doable. So I think why not?
And Mark, your argument is, listen, no one knew what was going on. I mean, the greatest argument for a conspiracy is Jack Ruby. That's the wild card. Like how do you explain Jack Ruby killing him? I mean, it's very odd.
About 94,000 books trying to explain Jack Ruby.
Right.
All I'm saying is that to mark the death of this particular president,
right?
It wasn't, from my perspective, and maybe I'm wrong, maybe I'm a schmuck, perfectly reasonable arguments, okay? But from my perspective, and I was 11 months old at the time, so I have no reasonable memory. It doesn't seem inappropriate as a way to mark or even to celebrate the death of this guy. Now, the Kennedys, I go out to Hyannisport. It's like I want to read. We do this piece. It's about 5 minutes long in the NFL Network. I think it'll air Friday. We're going to call it a Jew in Hyannisport. No, I'm
very rare.
But that whole family was so steeped in football, the idea of football. Bobby busted his ass to like get a letter at Harvard.
Right.
Jack couldn't play so that because he came back from the war with a screwed up back from the PT 109. So they made him like the designated quarterback. The interesting kid in that game was Teddy, who was legitimately talented, like 6'2", 215, good hands, like a real player. And this family was so steeped in the macho ethos of football. To me, they signify on two levels a transition in the cultural life of the nation. And I'm not BSing. It has to do with from baseball to football, from print to television. And I'm going to tell you what, both the NFL pays my bills and JFK were made possible by television. They are both creatures of television.
Right.
Their ascendance is not an accident. Both of these things come of age at the same time, and it's because of the tube.
And Pete Rozelle knew that better than anybody.
Yeah, no, I mean, Pete Rozelle said it was the biggest screw-up of his professional life, and I don't doubt him on it. I just think that, you know, Pete Rozelle was a PR guy, and he created and he made the cardinal mistake of PR guys. He admitted a mistake. And when I look back at it, and look, I'm going to be 51 years old, so I have no memory of it. But I'm taking the presumption of saying, maybe this wasn't such a desecration of the guy's memory. Maybe it was a celebration because he did love this game, and it meant a lot to this family with their touch football games. And, they were like preppy macho. And symbolically, it was important. It wasn't nonsense. And with all the happy horse, that we spread after 9/11, this is like that, but it's not like you have to root for one team. There was a play that Sunday. Mike Ditka goes for 63 yards and runs through the entire Pittsburgh Steelers team. And you can't tell me that JFK wouldn't have appreciated, admired, bought into the poetics of all of that stuff, man. Mike Ditka busting everyone's ass. Running over everyone.
I agree with you.
Those were the Kennedy virtues, man. Physicality, courage, all of that stuff.
I agree with you, but here's the thing. I think it's unfair to say JFK would have wanted this game played. I mean, if you put the question to him before he died, say, you die. Maybe he's thinking he dies of old age, of a heart attack, natural causes. Right. If you add the factor in, your head's going to get blown off your body, and you're going to land, your brains are going to land in Jackie's hands, and it's going to be on film. And those are the circumstances. Now, should we play for? I mean, it was the violence. It was the way it was done. It wasn't. It was a really crazy, awful thing. And then your assassin gets shot by this crazy person with connections to the mob. 2 days later, maybe people are getting shot. Maybe you take a day off of everything. That's maybe if he knew the circumstances and those details, he would have said, let's back off.
You would be in the overwhelming majority with my own father, who says I'm full of it.
Well, no, I mean, listen, I respect what you're saying. I'm just saying.
I'm just offering a dissenting opinion and saying that the values in the game and what the game symbolizes, both in terms of the time and this family, hold on a sec, because we're so used to this nonsense idea that sports are going to make it better, or sports are symbolically important. And most of the time, it's BS. But I do think that professional football in the life of this family was actually important, symbolically and in point of fact. I may be wrong. It wasn't the first time I was wrong.
I agree.
But
Mark, we got it
out there. Yeah.
We got to take a break. I wanted to leave you. Can you stick with us for another segment? Yeah, no, we got to take a break because I love this subject, and actually, John has a point about it too. But I got to do a live commercial and some spots, and we'll be back with Mark talking about this because it's pretty important and it's an interesting conversation. This football season, DraftKings.com could be crowning you a fantasy football millionaire. Yep, the winner of DraftKings Millionaire Grand Final will be winning $1 million. It's a new fun way to play fantasy football. DraftKings makes watching football way more fun and exciting than it used to be. It's super easy. One guy won $100,000 his very first time, $100,000 day one. Celebrate DraftKings this football season in their Millionaire Grand Final. Right now, my listeners get free entry into the Millionaire Grand Final. Enter Artie at DraftKings.com for your free shot to be crowned a fantasy football millionaire. But you got to enter Artie, A-R-T-I-E, today at DraftKings.com. For details and your free entry, visit DraftKings.com. That's DraftKings.com. Back with more of this conversation after this.
The Artie Lange Show, weeknights on Audience, only on DirecTV.